Welcome to Children of the Guild. Today we're going to be doing chapter 15 and chapter 16 together because I didn't do anything for you guys last week. And they're short chapters and they kind of go well together. Maybe they should be one chapter. I don't know. Anyway, we're going to start with chapter 15, The Bloom in Full. Rohma spent her days with Yashira. She trained so hard that sometimes her head ached. She reached into people over and over at distances when they were happy, sad, broken, even once during labor. She learned to read and disengage, to let the information and the connection burn. She never consumed, never took anything. She merely looked. And what she could learn with one look was growing. Dex trained. He stayed darkly sullen, determined and driven by something no one could really name. Even after having a peek, Rohma wasn't sure if he even knew. Rohma received a message from Kaede that night. She reported without question. Dinner was laid out in his tent, some for both. The room was lit with candles and little else. It was dim and smoky. Papers laid stacked on the table next to the meal, and Kaede had already poured 2 glasses of wine. "We're leaving, and you're staying," Kaede announced, gesturing at her chair. He ripped a leg off the bird and bit down. "I understand," Rohma answered, sitting quietly. She reached for a cup, waiting. Kaede didn't waste time stating the obvious. "I want you to become friends with as many people as you can. Any small guild, any clan that is living rough but useful." Kaede wiped his hands, thinking, "Do favors." Rohma nodded. "To what end?" "They will join us," Kaede said, so simply, so assuredly that it struck her. He continued, "And Hoya. Sisyphus lingers. They can't remain under his leadership. He's a fop. Guide him." "To you?" Rohma leaned back, laughing at the absurdity. Kaede chewed slowly, watching her. "To you?" She thought for a moment, puzzling out a strategy. "Sisyphus lingers." Rohma shook her head in disagreement. "No, they're lost. Hoya's in a quagmire. I believe he has jobs. I believe he doesn't know which to choose." Kaede nodded. "I've heard as much. If he chooses, he makes friends and enemies. Hoya, as you told me, is a coward. So he does not choose." "Shall I seduce him and rule Sisyphus from his pillow?" Rohma offered, irritated. Rohma noticed the candle on the table had gone out. Kaede laughed. "I doubt you would have to." His face went serious. "I heard rumors. Hoya's a good spy, information gatherer, and for June, a good second. But he lacks finesse with the rougher members of Sisyphus. He will be grateful for a guiding hand." Rohma stood and walked across the tent, listening. "Someone who has advised him well in the past." Kaede gestured to her with a fork. Rohma nodded, pulling a new candle from the trunk. "Perhaps I'm not happy being left. Perhaps I only want to be his second." She spoke as she lit it and replaced the burned out one. Kaede tossed her a piece of chicken. "Good. Eat." Rohma smiled slightly and ate the food. "I'm your dog now?" She sat. "Yashira isn't feeding you enough. I shouldn't have to order you to eat." Something paternal slipped into Kade's voice and was gone again. "Stand in the right place at the right time. Hoya will fall. You will stand when he does." Rohma sighed. "They won't like becoming a part of Tasos." "That's why they won't become a part of Tasos. Not yet. Not until they're ready. They will simply kneel to their new guildmaster." "How will I do this, Kaede?" Rohma felt exasperated and overwhelmed. "Make friends." "Make friends, Rohma. The path will present itself. It's only a goal. Reach it or don't. But if you reach it, we'll be a step closer." "To the Emperor?" she asked, nibbling. "To creating something greater." Kaede tossed her a roll. Rohma considered. She'd heard of Kade's ideas of something greater. He would talk about the union of guilds and houses, the clans under one banner. with one fighting force that worked for everyone. To have the contracts enforced, but to also have a dispute settled not by violence, but by the ruling authority. As it stands, the emperor sits on top of an ocean of moving sand. What holds up his authority is tradition, agreed civility. But all it would take is one motivated guild, and the fragile society that had been created would be dominated. They sat in silence for a beat or two, Kaede eating heartily, Rohma nibbling, occasionally trying an item Kaede tossed away. Finally, Kaede pushed his plate away and leaned in his chair, cup in hand. A new topic. Rohma sensed it moving in his mind before he spoke. "Tell me about Yashira. How is her training?" Kaede asked, in an almost distracted fashion. "Better than yours," Rohma sighed, "and not. She's pushing me in a different direction." "Tell me." Rohma leaned back, closing her eyes. "It's hard to explain. It's like how you trained me and son Dex to avoid a tracker. I look, but touch nothing." "Wise," Kaede sipped. "You can do things I can't." Rohma looked at Kaede. Clarity pushed away a fog that shouldn't have existed. Of course he was a mystic. "Who trained you?" "Luckily, I didn't need much training. I don't have much talent," Kaede shrugged. "You're different. I'm glad Yashira has shown an interest in you, but you can do much more than look, can't you?" Rosa froze for a moment, afraid to fully admit her abilities as she understood them. "The more I work, it seems the more I'm learning I can touch or change." Rohma met Kade's gaze. He nodded, leaning in slightly. She continued, "I can change everything. I can break into the castle of your mind and rearrange the furniture. I can burn it down." Kaede sipped his wine, glancing at her over the glass. "How long have you known?" "Since Aya, what I did to her." "Does Yashira know?" "She suspects." "There is a danger to moving furniture." Kaede pushed the table towards her, gently, with a smile. "I don't know." "How could there not be?" Rohma pushed it back. "Things have their place. But if the need were great?" "Kaede, not today, not now, but someday your life might depend on it. Your ability is a knife. You must be sharp as possible, or it will cut the wielder." Rohma's voice was tight. "And if a blade is truly that dangerous, there must be a pommel to keep the grip from sliding onto the blade. There must be limits, Kaede." Drei drifted in and out of sleep for most of the train ride. Everything blurred together. The landscape changed, the herbalist changed, at least twice. First a woman, then a man, then a woman again. They all looked the same, in a way. Sometimes the doctor spoke, but never to her. Drei didn't feel much like speaking anyway. The world beyond her eyelids felt dim and far away. Eventually, she woke to stillness. No movement, no sound of metal on metal, no rhythmic clacking. The herbalist was gone. Her toes curled suddenly, her right foot cramping hard. She tried to will them open, but they wouldn't. Instinctively, she lifted her leg, meaning to press her foot against the mat to stop the cramp, but the mat wasn't there. That was her first thought. There was a hole in the bed. Her leg dropped and hit the mat with a dull thud, the jolt knocking the cramp away. Drei thought about her foot. Nothing came back to her. She thought of moving it under the blanket, feeling the resistance of the fabric against her toes. Nothing. Drei laid there for a long time. A cold rush poured through her body, her stomach twisted. She threw back the blankets in a sharp motion, as if to catch something off guard. Her right leg was missing from above the knee. The foot that had just curled in pain a moment ago was gone. Maybe it had been gone all along. Her heart pounded. She wanted to scream, but nothing came. Chapter 16. Hold steady. Dex trained constantly. Keeping his body in motion was his greatest comfort. He could push himself until he ached, until all he could consider was his exhaustion. Otherwise, his mind tormented him. Today, he was doing drills, moving swiftly between 3 dummies. Even in his meditative movement, he found himself having thoughts, daydreams about Drei. Her smile, the way her eyes lit up, the way she would flip her short blade in her hand, just to show off. He missed her with every ounce of his being. But even as he felt the ache of the distance, he would see her across from him. He could almost smell the blood. He should be in the south with her. That was what his bones said, his heart. He should be sitting by her bed, holding her hand. He should be the guardian at her door. Instead, he was preparing to go north as a criminal, behind June, but on his own trail. Of course, he would kill him. No one expected anything else. In the north, the rules were different. Grudges were simply settled. Someone entered the training area. Dex grabbed a sword from the dummy by its blade, flipped it, just like she would. The pommel struck his hand comfortingly. She cut herself at least 6 times before she could get that just right, Kaede noted, walking in. Dex showed his hand. Cuts several times, healing slow from never-ending use. You've keened enough, Kaede announced. Dex glared at him, picking up the blades. Tasos boys to teach? I'm no teacher. I've none better. Dex paused. Was that a blow? As if he didn't know she was gone. He was shocked for a moment, then snarled. You never did. Kaede stepped back, understanding. So, this is my fault? Because I hid you? I should have been doing the staff gimmick. It was better with a girl, Kaede shrugged. She lost her leg, Dex responded, enraged. I should have fronted the guild. She should have been protected. The deadliest blade remains hidden. I know. Dex tossed the swords in a pile, grabbing a whetstone. You think she's the first person in Tasos to lose a leg, boy? Or that she'll be the last? She was a soldier, a performer even, and now she is away, not dead. Dex paused, dropping the whetstone, his hands pressed against his eyes. Becoming a doctor? Just as you hoped she would choose. Good at sewing and all. No, lad, don't lay this on me. Kaede was heated now. She befell a monster, that is all. When I find him, I will kill him. I know you will. And you will be ready. Kaede touched Dex's shoulder, rolling it slowly. I need you to teach these boys. Dex looked up, confused. You're serious? We're a guild, Dex. We don't act alone. Teach the boys, continue to train, and talk to Rohma, Kaede said, walking away. The 2 boys wandered in not much later. Dex was sharpening his blades. The practice area was covered in soft sand and straw, not out of any intention, just that the horses were sometimes fed here, and all the walking had unpacked the dirt. The 2 stayed close to each other. By looking, Dex figured that they were around 10 and had a lifelong connection. One boy was dark-haired and dark-skinned, the other slightly lighter, but thinner, maybe brothers. You were here to train. It wasn't a question. Dex flung the statement out like a rope, something to grab onto in this strange terrain. They approached him quickly, each bowing slightly, the darker one in front. Yes, sir, he answered for both. Dex recognized the dynamic. He set down his tools and rubbed his nose. Brothers? Yes, sir. Dex waited quietly. We were raised together, the darker boy corrected. Dex nodded. Name? I'm Tarek. This is Dadim, the larger boy, Tarek said. Fine. Pick up some practice weapons, both of you. Standard length. Let's see how you move. Dex watched as the boys selected wooden swords, each one tipped to hilt, the length of their legs from hip to toe. At least they knew that. What followed was an hour of drills. He started with basic stances, moved to footwork, and introduced a guard position. Dex called out corrections, made adjustments, and repeated fundamentals until the movements began to stick. It gave him peace. Not the pride of a teacher, not yet. These boys, while in his charge, were more important than his hurt, guilt, or rage. He could put it down because he had to. Line, Dex called. The boys stood shoulder to shoulder at attention, proud and exhausted. Spar. The boys grinned wide and fought. It was play from the moment they started, and it ended with giggles. Dex hated Kaede for this, hated him more than he ever thought he could, and he knew exactly why he was here. Dex forced a laugh and picked up a sparring weapon, a short sword. At me. The boys looked at each other and then attacked Dex. Smiles broad, gleeful. It took no time, no effort. Dex hit Tarek across the chest hard enough for him to drop. Nadim got it worse, his arm, then his leg caught by Dex. Nadim landed on his back. Both boys gasped for air. Nadim clutched his arm. Line, Dex commanded, red-faced. Tarek, get up and get in line. Nadim, line. Tarek rolled to his feet. Gasping for the breath, Dex knocked out. Nadim stood, holding his arm, tears running down his cheeks. Dex paced. Line, he repeated quietly. The boys stood at attention. Nadim stopped, cradling his arm. This isn't play. This is combat training. This isn't a toy. It's a tool. Dex stood in front of them. They looked up, wide-eyed in awe. He swallowed and continued the lecture. He knew it well. He'd seen it many times. When he was younger than these two, he heard it the first time from Kaede. If you want to live, he continued, you will remember where you are, who you are, and what you are doing. We are not here to train for a tournament. We are not a guild that will spend our lives waiting outside of castle doors. We will go into a field and feed the grass the blood of our enemies, or our own. There is no other alternative. Dex paused a beat, taking in their expressions. Tarek was worried. Nadim was focused. They were both right. Go get food, he commanded and turned, letting them leave without his eyes on them. Rohma came in directly after the boys left. Dex knew it was no mistake, either her or Kaede. He was being managed. He said her name by way of greeting. She smiled lightly. It's good to see you interacting. It's called teaching, actually. She tilted her head and laughed. Jokes too? Tell Kaede I'm going to be all right. Dex picked up the practice weapons. I'm sure he knows. What do you know of the North, Dex? The question felt random, but he knew it wasn't. It landed like a threat. He paused and turned to look her in the eye. Why? You lived there as a child. Do you remember it? Your people? Rohma stepped in. She seemed concerned, but something lived underneath it. I don't. She knew he was young, only 3 when Kaede found him. I want to help you. I can try to learn things about it. Rohma knitted her fingers together nervously. Dex nodded. Thank you. He stepped in and hugged her. Rohma squeezed him back. Her breath hitched in a little sob, and he buried his tears in her soft black hair. I'm writing Drei. Do you want to tell her something? Dex wanted to say 1,000 things, but his throat closed. He shook his head, trying to catch a breath that was taken from him as sure as he took Tarek's. Rohma felt his pain and watched inside his mind like a raven hunting, aloft on a current of sadness. I'll tell her you're sorry, and you miss her. Dex nodded. A hand squeezed her shoulder. Yes, that's good. He nodded. Rohma stepped back and turned, giving Dex her back. She knew he hated being this vulnerable in front of close friends. I'll send it tomorrow. Kaede said you're all leaving. We are, but not for long. Going to Miss Edic? Dex recovered and teased her to prove it. Rohma smiled over her shoulder. Maybe. She turned to face him. His eyes were still red, but she didn't mark it. I'll see you tomorrow at decampment. That night, Rohma wrote Drei.